Alcohol for that.
We've got Mike here. Mike's
got
our
Mike.
sex machine.
Oh yeah, all right. So, are the Sattalites still around?
We're still around, and we've been playing at a place called the Orbit Room on College Street.
Sure.
Which is a great little spot. We've got a nice Hammond organ in there with the Leslie. Bill, you know that, appreciate that for sure.
That one screams.
Yeah, it does, and so does the crowd later on in the evening. But we've been playing there, and it's all the original guys, But Jojo Bennett, the flugelhorn player, and Bill knows him quite well, but we've been doing this together since about 1978, 79. And
Wow.
we started out by having a music school together, and then we used to take the kids in the school out. We'd play in some Jamaican restaurants or whatever, and everybody would have their songs that they would do. So we'd have like 6 bass players, and everybody would come out. It was like a recital, but kind of a different form. But yeah, so out of that grew the band.
You know what? It's a really interesting combination. Playing the sax, playing the guitar, and a vocalist.
Well, yeah, I was a horn player originally, but
A trumpet player?
and a sax player.
Oh, sax
originally,
player,
yeah.
okay.
But I just always have loved the guitar, and I'm playing a lot of guitar these days. So
But that's an interesting ensemble of instruments.
But
or
you
talent.
hit that time when reggae was just sort of bubbling over in Toronto. I mean, there was that surface of where the players got together. Both sides, the white and the black community came together, and this new thing happened.
I think it was a little spillover from the sort of early 70s and all that emigration from Jamaica. And all these people came, a lot of professional people, but a lot of musicians as well. And, they brought their kids, and their kids went to Toronto high schools and got involved in what used to be a fantastic music program in the Toronto high schools and learned to play the instrument. And it produced a real scene. So you're right, around the beginning of the 80s, there was a lively scene, a lot of different bands. Before us, there was Chalawa and Aishan People and Truth and Rights. And then after us, there was a whole
But
lot
the
of different
Sattalites
bands.
made an impact because the Sattalites had a few hits that
We
they crossed
did-
over to pop radio.
Well, because I'm in there, and I like the pop thing, and really my fascination, Bill, with a lot of this stuff was, first of all, the language, because I love language, and the Jamaican patois is endlessly interesting. But I also love the musical adaptability of that music.
It is.
Oh, endlessly fascinating.
Yes,
but
it is.
The musical adaptability, you go and they take this harmonic material, which isn't much, and this rhythmic material, and they mash it together with an incredible melodic sense, and there's this great music. So I was always fascinated. And as a sax player, I love the fact that they use horns a lot. And as a singer, I love the fact that they still had a lot of harmony singing. And
the Sattalites were just the best.
And the Sattalites, which was
man,
massive.
They had the best players in the world.
That's right. And the jazz mixed in with the kind of rhythm and blues, that New Orleans sound, it's intoxicating.
Yeah.
Where did you learn to play?
It's kind of interesting. I went to Jarvis Collegiate in downtown Toronto and grew up not too far from here, so really close to here. And I had a charismatic music teacher when I was in grade 9, a guy named Ron Chandler, and he affected the course of my life. He was a great guy.
I had a great music teacher. I used to drive him crazy, and I guess he drove me crazy at times, but in retrospect, and I've seen him, he was at our high school reunion. His name was Don Nickel. And everything was music for him. Everything else got in the way. If you couldn't come to a band practice, you had a football game, he was irritated. But I understood why, because that was it for him. And we had great concert band, a great jazz band. We had a great music program.
I'm going to just reiterate my point from earlier, if you don't mind, because my 11-year-old is in the public system right now, and they don't have enough instruments in the room and all that other stuff. And the fact is, I was lucky enough to be there in the 60s, and the music program was well funded. There was intense competition between us and Northern. The band from Barrie was really hot stuff. It was a great atmosphere.
It was different, wasn't it?
It was different. It was a great atmosphere. It was a great atmosphere.
We used to go into the Kiwanis every year.
Yeah,
and I
yes,
remember
we did as well.
Barrie had a band in there every
Barrie
year.
took their band from all the surrounding areas, so they would reach Keswick and Sutton. They had the hottest players from Sutton.
Yeah.
Before Chapman was there, but it was they had a great program, and the guy at I think it was Northern. I think it was Northern Hill, the guy who did the program at Hill.
O'Neill and Oshawa was outrageous.
There's another one. See, and I know that the Kiwanis is still going, all that stuff, but the kind of, the way things are not funded very well, and the kind of inspiration isn't there. So it was a fertile time at that time anyway.
Yeah. Well, I was in high school in the late 60s, early 70s for the most part.
That's my time.
We had a great music department.
We have a cocktail coming
We have a cocktail coming
what's
up.
Going on?
This is Dante.
Dante, what are you shaking up there, dude?
Shaking up. I'll be shaking up a cucumber basil smash. This is a drink that is on the menu at Spirit House, another one of the founding partners of Toronto Cocktail Week. And this is something that you could probably get at our cocktail generator event on Saturday. It's the Grid's Cocktail Generator Gala, and where guests get to pick or use 3 different adjectives to have a custom cocktail made for them by some of Toronto's all-star bartenders.
All right.
All right.
All right.
Let's give it a show here.
Oh, let's get some sound on that, man. Let me hear that.
These are sound effects, ladies and gentlemen. This is real. Do you enjoy a cocktail here and there?
I think I'm about to. Here and there.
And then,
I'll have one here and I'll have one there.
oh, he's pouring now.
And I'll have one now. I'll have one again. Now and again. And I'll have one now and then.
I went to see John Cleese the other night. Oh, that was fantastic.
I bet that was good.
No, we're going to finish this and then we'll go for traffic. You can wait.
Was he as funny as can be?
You know, his timing is so immaculate.
Yeah, that was
But
so
it was a
good.
long discussion
Thank you.
about comedy. But it was his autobiography, but interspersed with comedy. Oh, thank you very much.
Of course.
Cheers, my friend.
Notice it over there.
Ah, Dante, the Divine Comedy.
Yes.
Brilliant, my friend.
Oh, yes.
Yes, indeed.
Excellent. Just a quick reminder, the Toronto Cocktail Week begins on the 1st of October, runs to October 7th. There is a website.
TorontoCocktailWeek.com.
There you go.
Far too much after you've had a few cocktails to try to remember that, you know.
And Dante, thank you very much, gentlemen, both of you.
Thanks
Good,
for having
good
me.
luck
Thank you.
with your event. I
Thanks
hope it
very
goes
much.
smashingly well. 1:45 at Newstalk 1010. We're back with Fergus Hambleton in a minute. Right now, well, I've met some of the greatest talent imaginable through Bill.
Week after week we have.
Week after week, that's awesome.
Just
It's all from here.
a real treat. A real treat.
Yeah.
The Sattalites. Where did the name come from?
Well, you know, there was a very famous band that Bill mentioned from Jamaica, and they were called the Sattalites. And those guys played a lot of jazz and kind of New Orleans rhythm and blues and their own kind of style all jumbled up together. But they were awesome musicians, led originally by a famous trombonist, but they had a lot of great horn players and great bass players and awesome drummers, and invented a kind of ska music, you know, that jumping comes out of the New Orleans Fats Domino style. And so when we first started, and this is 1978, we actually played a fair number of Scatolite tunes, but we weren't, as Joe says, we're scato, we're just sata. So sata just kind of means easy, so we're just
Did you do
sata.
Guns of Navarone?
No, we never did Guns of Navarone. We did a lot of things like Occupation and Eastern Standard Time and Green
Okay.
Island, all these classic things.
Love
And
that stuff.
Joe was very famous for doing that in Jamaica, so he knew all the little twists and turns in the music. So it was
And
really awesome.
you said earlier that you are actively engaged in performing live.
Yes, we play every week still, and Joe and I are there together. He's had a heart attack and a stroke in the last 10 years, but he's still blown up a storm, which is really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. And that song, Easier Said Than Done, is a nice example of the mix because we recorded the basic track to that in Jamaica, and Sly Dunbar playing drums, and the guy from We the People playing bass, and Robbie Lynn from the Wailers playing keyboards. So lots of musicians down there, and Pam and Audrey Hall and Ruddy Thomas doing the background vocals. And then we came to Canada and we put on little string parts with Dave, the keyboard player, and Rick Morrison, the sax player, played a beautiful soprano
Was this
sax
Dave
solo.
McMorrow?
No, Dave Fowler. Dave Fowler.
Now, this was all on analog tape, too.
And it was all
Yeah,
on
yeah.
analog tape. That's
Oh,
right, of
my
course.
goodness.
Yeah. Well, you know, I really feel, and I mean this sincerely, we were so lucky when I remastered this stuff and I went back. We were so lucky that we were in some amazing studios with some great engineers and some great musicians. And you know, oddly enough, or sort of these days, it's easy to record, but it's harder even to get into those really nice studios, those beautiful rooms with the good microphones and the great engineers. It's harder to do that now than it was. So we were lucky.
Is it because of the cost?
That stuff still costs, and it's being used less. People often use laptops. One of my students works at the record plant in L.A., and he said it would make you cry to see these producers come in, and they're sitting at a 72-track board with all the stuff, and they're using their laptop and 2 channels out of the board. That's all they're using. It's
unbelievable.
It's just a different world. It's a cut and paste world.
Yeah.
But, you know, obviously not exclusively. There's lots of people doing it still. But I just feel we're really lucky to be able to be part of all that. You know, we went from the tape time to the digital time, and there were some accidents along the way. And our fourth album, half of it was done digitally, and it was new technology, and there were all kinds of mess ups with the digital technology. So it's been an interesting ride.
Now,
We're lucky.
How did the tape survive, though? I mean, you know, a lot of times, you know, they were.
Well, you know,
crumble.
you can bake them, you know.
You bake the tape.
Right.
What?
Yeah.
You bake
Explain
tape.
that.
Well, what happens is tape is bits of metal on some kind of background, and the metal, the way it's moved, produces the music. Now, weather and humidity, all kinds of things can corrode that metal and make it change its configuration. Sometimes tape sticks together so it won't even reel off. So what you do is then there are recipes. So for Ampex 456, for instance, it's 6 hours at 220 degrees in an oven. Literally in an oven. You put the tape in the oven, and it causes the tape to just separate a bit so it can reel off. That song, easier said than done. I'm not exaggerating. When we transferred that to digital, we lost the original tape because the tape just came shredding off the heads.
Wow. So what did you do? How did you manage to?
Well, we managed to get it. We got it all digitally.
Still
And some of the tape stuff we still have that was stored well, but some of it was in Jamaica and, you know, the salt air and all that kind of stuff. So we're actually really are cooking up music, you know. We really are.
A real pleasure meeting you. I think.
Very nice to meet you as well.
Fergus Hambleton. It's the Sattalites, the best of Canadian reggae. Available now or shortly?
Very available now.
Available now.
Linus, Solid Gold Records.
All the best to you.
Thank you very much, sir.
Next, the tax man is always watching. We'll talk.